to this online arbitrage deals video. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about quantities and replenishment, two very important factors when it comes to obviously deciding how much of a particular product you're going to buy, and when it comes to buying more of that product, which is what we call replenishment, how much more of that product do we need to buy? So there's a bunch of questions surrounding quantity and replenishment that you'll probably find that you end up asking yourself. And of course, they are quite important decisions. And so how exactly do you decide on a quantity? And there's a bunch of other things to consider as well before you actually go ahead with the quantity that you purchase, as well as replenishment. There's a whole bunch of questions surrounding that area of things, but that is what we're going to cover in today's video. And hopefully by the end of it, the advice that I give is going to make you feel more confident with the process of deciding the quantity of the item that you're going to buy. And when it comes to replenishing, hopefully you'll end up an expert on that. Okay, so I've got my trusty whiteboard with me if you're wondering why I was waving around a pen. So we're going to be working through a couple of key questions, and we may end up writing some more points on it. So we're going to look at quantities first before we move on to replenishment. So just initially, when you analyze a product and it looks like it's going to work out well, how much of that particular product do we need to purchase? So there's a bunch of things that I'm going to tell you about, but first we're going to work through the questions. So how much? That is the big question, okay? How much of a particular product do you need to buy? Before you decide how much, what you need to do is basically consider the two questions underneath. So, are there any deals for certain amounts, and can we do this wholesale? Now, if you aren't going to do the wholesale method at this point in time, you can completely ignore that bottom question right there. So, wholesale, if you are getting into that, it does require a bigger capital because it requires more investment to go ahead with it. So unless you were looking to get into wholesale, or maybe you already do it, maybe you're focusing on retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, then you can ignore the wholesale question there. But regardless of what method you do, the question of deals is an important one. So that can influence how much you purchase. Now, if you have BuyBot Pro, you'll be aware that it has a suggested purchase quantity. So it's going to tell you how many it thinks you should purchase, and it gives you that number based on the analysis itself. So it looks at the entire analysis, so how well it sells, the BSR, how much you're going to make, and so forth. It's going to find all of that out and pump out a suggested purchase quantity, which is something that you can take fully on board, or you can use that as a starting point to figure out your own quantity, and the number may end up somewhere around that kind of suggestion. Or you may have your own way of deducting the quantity that you want to purchase. So by all means, follow it, what it is that you want to do. But that suggestion is there to basically help you. So if you've got BuyBot Pro, then you've already got a load of help there already. But how much of a particular product do you purchase if you aren't looking at anything like that? If it's something you don't want to take on board, like how do you figure it out for yourself? Well, it's a case of really assessing obviously the sell price for it. Can you get a reduction on the price if you were to buy a certain amount of them? Take a look at the sales as well. Do you really want to buy a lot of that particular product? So if you're looking at the estimated sales, for example, and you can see that it is currently doing well, it has done well for a couple of weeks, you're looking at that past, but then see that it wasn't doing so hot prior to that, and based on like the estimated sales, the prediction is a slightly lower number to what you're seeing now currently. So that tells you that however many weeks down the line, that product is going to start dying off in terms of popularity and how well it sells. So yes, it's something that we can get in, and it will continue to do well for hopefully the next few weeks, but then a few weeks more, then it starts to die off. So do we really want to buy a massive quantity? So it could be, where we end up buying 10 or something like that. If you're looking to get gated as well, what you need to do is buy a particular, like a certain amount of that product to get ungated. So that's just something else to consider as well if you're in that position. If you see that it is consistently going to do popular, if you see that it's going to do well in the future based on that prediction, then probably add a couple more into the quantity decision that you come to. Of course, there's no way to 100% know the future. In terms of Amazon, I wish that we could, but obviously there's no way that anyone can predict that 100%. All we can really do is take our best educated guess based on assessing the current status of that product and its past as well. So so that's basically how we can come to our own kind of like quantity decision. Of course, it's going to differ per analysis that we do per product, so there's no way that I can tell you as a rule of thumb purchase this amount, because it is really going to vary per product. So how much, and hopefully those tips I've given you there will help you with deciding the quantity that you want to buy. Obviously, if you are able to do it wholesale, if you're in that kind of position, then some perks doing it that way is that you can negotiate the price. Obviously, it's a lot easier to get your hands on that particular product in bulk as well, because you are doing it wholesale. And also throwing that back to deals, is there an offer on for if you buy a certain amount? If you spend a certain amount, that can influence how many you buy. So you have to buy so many to hit that particular amount. Do you purchase a certain amount to get, a number of that particular product free, or maybe to get a discount or something like that? So always consider deals. And when you go to reassess a product as well, still check if there's any deals, because deals can come in at any point. It might be that when you initially buy, there's nothing really happening for that product, but when you go to buy it again, there's a deal on. So just because it hasn't happened once doesn't mean it's never going to happen. So always check up on that. So when it comes to replenishment, there's a couple of other questions that we need to ask ourselves. So this is when we're buying more of a particular product. Now, a question that I've seen quite frequently is, when do I replenish? And that's entirely up to you in a sense. But here's a couple of things to consider to help you decide when. Do you want to keep a steady flow of that product? If the answer is yes, then you probably want to look to buy more and add more stock before you completely sell out. So it might be that you wait till you've got, let's say initially you bought 80, they're selling out quite quickly. Maybe when you get to about, 12, 10, something like that, you buy more. And obviously, by the time that they get to Amazon, you should hopefully still have a couple of that product left still. Obviously, it depends how fast they sell, and that can change day in, day out. So, if you, look to have like a certain amount, whereby when it gets to that amount, you go, yep, I need to buy more. So like have yourself like a safe number, if you will. When it gets to that amount, then buy more. Do you want to completely sell out of that product and then buy more of it, just so that way the amount that you purchased prior is all gone? You want to make sure that it's all gone. That's some of the things that I would say to consider when you decide when you're going to replenish. And when it comes to replenishing as well, as I say, you need to do a reanalysis of that deal. Regardless of how great it may have been for however long, you need to reanalyze that deal, because stuff does change. It could be the price of the product itself. It could be that some fees have changed on Amazon's end, because that does happen. Fees might have gone up, so it might make that item, not as profitable as it was before. Therefore, it's not worth going with as many. So there's a bunch of different things to consider and to be aware of when you do your reanalysis. And of course, it might just stop being as popular. It might not sell as well. So as I say, it's all about doing your own due diligence and making sure that things are still going to work out for you. So it might have been a product that has done really well by you for like a year, but we need to reanalyze. We need to make sure that it's still going to do a good job by us. So, yep, always reanalyze. And we also need to assess if there's actually a need to buy more of that product. If even if we are getting to some lower numbers in terms of stock, It might be that sales have slowed down. So yes, whilst it's getting to those lower numbers, has it significantly slowed down? Can we afford to, hold it off a little bit longer, maybe focus on some other bits and pieces? Because if sales have slowed down, then there's not really such an urgent need to send a load more stock Amazon's way for that particular product. And it could also be an indicator as well that, sales are going to definitely slow down, and that's just going to be a brand new change for that particular product. It might be that it's slow for a period of time, only a temporary period of time, then it goes back to doing well again. But if it is slowing down and stays slowed down, do we really want to replenish that product right now? And do we also want to purchase the amount that we had in our head that we might have always purchased for that product? So it might be that we've always done it like 45 at a time or something like that, but because things are slowing down, it has been that way for a time, maybe we do a bit less. So maybe we do like 30 or something like that. I don't know. So you need to assess when exactly do you want to do it and figure that out and have that safe number, as I say. So when you hit that certain amount, that's when you replenish more. If you want to keep a flow going, is there a need? And also reanalyze as well. I thought we might have put some more points on the board just based on what I was talking about, but I think that you probably get the idea. So yeah, quantities and replenishment. Obviously, there's no way I can tell you, or anyone can tell you, yeah, definitely buy X amount of a product, because it is going to differ per product, and even when it comes to replenishment as well, it's going to differ each time. So all anyone can really give, and hopefully this has been great food for thought. All I can really do is present to you these questions, these imperative questions that you need to ask yourself when it comes to deciding on a quantity, and if you're going to replenish, when you're going to replenish, how much you're going to replenish. So consider all of those questions. Hopefully those tips have helped as well. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments, and I'll see you soon.